Welcome, everyone. We'll get started soon. We're just waiting a few seconds to get all the live streams going, so we'll get started very, very soon. All right, let's get this show started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2. This one is about design.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm excited to show this to you all.
Yep, I'm Tom Fessner from the Walking Community team.
I'm Mike Morris. I'm the creator and executive producer of Cartoon Crunch.
I'm also a producer of this, too.
Yes, you are.
So what do you have to say about yesterday's episode, Mike? How'd that go?
I think yesterday's episode was really an introduction to all of our artists more than anything else. We're getting to learn a little bit about them, who they are, what they're like, what they do, what their specialties are. And we get a little bit more view into what, a little bit more into them today. I won't say about what, but I will say about what. We get to see a little bit more of their work today than we did yesterday, because they had spent after the time with our guest mentor of yesterday, Jeff Ranjo, they had the rest of the day to get some work done. So we're going to see a little bit of that today.
Cool. Well, you think about we're ready to get the video started?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
It's 2020, and with live events going virtual all over the world, we at Wacom issued a unique artistic challenge.
We gathered portfolios from across the Americas, selected 8 student artists, and split them into 2 teams, giving them a Wacom 1, some pro animation software, and 7 days to create a 45-second animated short. And everything done remotely. This is Cartoon Crunch. Good morning and hello, teams. Welcome to day 2 of Cartoon Crunch. How did you guys like day 1 so far?
It's exciting.
Fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Good thumbs up.
Awesome. So yesterday you guys tackled some story duties. Today is all about production design. Everything that is made is designed, whether intentionally or not. So it is up to you to figure out how your films are going to look today. Design can play a very, very important role in your film, because there have been good films made with bad design, and there have been good design films with bad stories. But if you can merge the two with good story and good design, that film will stand out. So we can break designs down into our 3 basic categories, right? Character, background, and props. But one of the biggest things that I've noticed in a lot of different design is that you have to have an overall design aesthetic. Everything has to look like it all belongs in the same world. And that's really important. Sometimes I've seen films that, everything looks a certain way, but then some things look like they don't necessarily belong there. And in some cases, that's intentional in various shows. In other cases, it's not intentional. And we want to make sure that your films have an overall design aesthetic that everything matches and it looks like it belongs all together. Another thing that you should be cognizant of in this next little while as you prepare for your professional mentor visit this afternoon is shape language. So make sure that your shape language is very strong in your designs when you present later. Silhouettes are always a great thing to have in a design lineup, so you can see at a distance sort of how all your characters relate to one another and interact with one another. Also, expressions and character studies are going to be good to help you inform the acting later on of all your characters. Get a feel for their personality, how they behave, how their smile looks, how their frowns look, how they are able to emote just in their face or with their whole bodies. So that is what your assignment is this morning. Take the stories from your film and start laying out your designs. Okay?
Okay.
All right, everybody. It's time to crunch. I would like to introduce you to today's guest mentor for Design Day is an Argentinian production designer, illustrator, and art director based in Los Angeles. He has over 7 years experience in the animation industry, and his practice ranges from art direction and visual development to illustration and comics. He has worked with studios such as Disney Television Animation, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, and Titmouse Incorporated. Please, everybody, welcome Mr. Luciano Herrera.
Hey.
So, welcome, Luciano. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, recently, Luciano, I saw you art directed a short film. How did you start that initial design process when you were figuring out what this film was supposed to look like?
Well, I always approach the work through story first. So, like we did a lot in DuckTales, was always the script first. And then we shoot down ideas and we storyboard everything out. Once we have kind of a idea of what we want to say, then the art kind of flows out of it. But story should always be the one thing that you're serving, especially for production design, your staging, more than anything else. And also it was important to pick the shots and everything before we start producing the art, because what would work best with what we're trying to accomplish. I do find that sometimes the art might be absolutely amazing, but if the story is not there, it won't keep you for more than 5 to 10 minutes.
And I think we've all seen films like that are visually beautiful, but when there's no story, it's just pretty pictures. Is there any sort of method that can be employed to sort of take those ideas of supporting the story with your design work and sort of breaking that down into manageable steps?
Always thumbnailing, always thinking about composition, always thinking about the story. What I do is I write 3 adjectives that the whole story is trying to emote or trying to get out of you. And I try to see as I'm doing the production, if we're losing sight of that. You always go back to these 3 adjectives as anchors to keep you on track. Specifically, if you don't have parameters, the more freedom you have, sometimes I find it to be more difficult than when you have very set parameters and very set times. I thrive in TV production because I like the short schedules and I like having to have things done and not overthinking it. So letting the artwork kind of flow out, keeping track, thumbnailing everything, and then having a big picture of what everything is, and then kind of coming a little bit tighter afterwards.
So starting with the general and moving closer and closer and closer into the specific?
Yeah, but never losing the general. Yeah, always keeping in mind the general. Because I look at drawing that way. I'm kind of a dude, like I doodle a lot, so I usually will get too tight on a specific spot, and I'll get too busy with it, and then it loses what I'm doing with everything else.
Mhm.
So I kind of have to always step back.
So, anyways, let's get into our breakout session. Go ahead, Team West. Give us a wave,
Hello.
and then Team East. Let's wave from you. All right. So these are our teams. So Team East, go ahead and take a break, and we'll be with you very shortly. So, if someone would like to encapsulate your short film, Serena, I believe you're directing this.
Yeah, it was
You and
my
Daniel
idea.
together?
Yeah,
Let's do
Yeah.
it. So now give me the pitch of the story.
yeah, sure. So our goal was we also did the keyword method, like you mentioned. So a few of the keywords that we thought of is we wanted something that was lighthearted, easy to understand and relatable, and a little humorous. So our story in like a few sentences would be a dog's imagination when trying to protect their owner. And the rest I'll kind of scrub through this thumbnailing process just to tell you the story. So the very first scene starts off with like a royal palace, and you kind of zoom in on the throne where there's a little kid with a pot of gold. There's still a few changes we have to do to this, but yeah. So as the pot of gold falls down the steps, suddenly you see the kid wake up, and they look up all confused and tense. There'll be an audio cue where you have like thumping and knocking. Suddenly, when you shift the camera to the front castle doors, it starts, exploding open. And out of it, there's like this shadowy like figure that looms over the throne. This is still a composition we have to add, but it's basically the shadowy figure starts running towards the throne, and you have a POV shot of it like attacking the little girl. And just as it's about to get close enough, you have a shadowy figure again come in, and this time revealing the dog soldier blocking the little girl. And the two swords clashing causes a flash of light. And then you have like a low angle shot showing like the little girl on her throne and the dog warrior like protecting it. And then you kind of like have a little battle going on. They kind of back away from each other. A little like tense moment. And then as the warrior prepares himself for like a final blow, he charges towards the robot monster. And then as he's about to cry, it cuts to like a little whimper of a tiny puppy. And there's like a Roomba and a little baby in the corner in its stroller.
Fantastic.
Okay, I will
Super
stop
cute.
sharing.
I like it. It's super cute. It's fantastic. It's really funny. So how do you feel about it?
So I feel like right now we have a little too much information, so we're kind of trying to figure out how to condense it with the shots.
Yes.
So really trying to tell as much information in maybe one shot rather than two, so we save on time. So yeah, and we started with a bit of the visual development when it comes to the character design and the environments.
And these are great. It's very good exploration. Yeah, perfect. Concerns. You have concerns?
My concern, personally, and I'm not sure if everyone in the team agrees as of yet, but I really wanted to make the initial part of it very dramatic so that there's like a stark contrast between the really dramatic scenes and just the mundane everyday life of like a little tiny dog barking at a Roomba. That's something that I thought about.
Yes. Okay. So what's your team, how's your team divided up? Who's doing backgrounds, who's doing what?
So it's kind of, again, mixed. Annie worked on thumbnailing the backgrounds. I'm working on making them now.
Okay.
Brittany worked on characters. Daniel worked on props. Did I miss anything, guys?
I did a little bit of character work, but only like after Brittany had designed them.
That's great. Before you start working on your backgrounds and all that stuff, which you already have your keys, which is great. I think you need to condense, and I think you need to figure out exactly what shots you need.
Right.
That will save you time in the long run because you also will build your shots with the assets you have.
Right.
It will make, and also it will make your story tighter. I don't think you need as many shots as you have. I don't think you need as many camera changes as you have. I will save that more for the action sequence. And then in the action sequence, you don't necessarily need to have backgrounds that are very elaborate. You could use shapes and color cards or whatever it is. So use the element of 2D animation in your favor. When you're using action, the backgrounds are kind of a distraction. So you want to focus on your characters, and you want to focus on your effects or whatever it is that you're trying to do. I think you guys are in a very good shape. Where are you going? I think your silhouettes are working for your bot. The baby is a great silhouette as well. Just be careful with it looking too much like everything else you've seen before. You wanna have a little bit of something that is yours with it. That being said, it's pretty cute. It's nice. Yeah, this is very good work. Again, silhouettes. You don't need to have that many options. I will kind of cut it down. Also, is your dog character the knight? What is he? Is he? So he's kind of like, okay, he's a knight. Okay.
Yeah, like a protector, as he sees himself.
He seems more than a sword fighter. He seems like in a knight. He seems like a brute, So I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Again, that's artistic taste. Okay, so let's talk about set design because that's pretty much my strength. For these backgrounds, I will think a lot, specifically when you were opening the shot, I think you should have it from a kid's eye level since you're having it's a baby. So I think it will make it a lot more impactful if it's a baby's eye level. You want it to be regal and grandiose. Is that what you're trying to achieve with this?
Right.
Okay. It's okay to play with lighting, and it's okay to play with shapes. I will play with shapes here a little bit. Beyond the columns, you don't have to be too descriptive of what's going on, because it is kind of, you might want to lose them. You can use the columns as shapes also in the fighting sequence as you're rotating or moving around to give a sense of where we are in the background. But be aware that every background you're drawing takes a lot of time. And
could I?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, we're trying a method out where we're blocking it in Blender. We're using like little sprites for the backgrounds, and we're setting up this. I could show that if
yes,
I could screen share.
Can I see that?
Yeah, sure.
Especially if you're blocking things out in Blender, make sure that you can get some angles in there that are going to be, a little bit more in a perspective-y view.
Yeah.
So you can get some great cinematic angles.
Yeah. Right now, I'm still in the process of like adding in whatever we need, but like just for the basic shapes so that we could just render this and then draw over it so we have the perspective and everything.
No, this is perfect. I do this all the time myself.
Okay.
Okay, great. So that will save you so much time in your angle picking and what you're doing. So that's great. But now what you have to do is a solid design. Since your whole thing is taking place in one place, maybe the second one after they come back from the dream sequence, it'll be a second place, but you don't even really need much for the second one. I will say make your design options work for what you're trying to do. If you were to embellish more than anything, it would be around the throne. To make it look more regal, a throne room, the purpose of a throne room is for whoever the leader or the king is to be higher than everybody else, and to give you that sense of looking upwards. Okay, so I would, if I were you, stage that up a little bit more, so the throne is not as lost, and it doesn't seem like a church. It seems like a throne room. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, I think you're in great shape. Do you have any questions?
I had a few questions on how we could improve the dog night.
Sure.
So you mentioned that it might come off a little mean looking. So do you have any advice on how we could make it look more poised and elegant, but at the same time someone who protects?
Sure. So because you want to add like a sense of comedy to what you're doing, and you have a baby, like most of the time, how I feel, Mike can speak for this more than I do because of his storyboarding background, but there's not that, like, you don't have the opportunity to bring as much comedy as you can with the dog part, right? So I will look at like things that inspire you, but at the same time, since it's going to be an anthropomorphic character, I will look at, you know what comes to mind? Labyrinth, like the dog knight. I don't know how young you guys are. Have you ever seen the movie Labyrinth?
I haven't.
Okay, I highly recommend it.
Could we?
So this is like before CGI and all that stuff. So there's puppeteers that are bringing life into these characters, and there is a character in it that he's a knight, and he's protecting a bridge, and he's just there, and he's the silliest little thing, but his attitude and his command and his the way that he thinks about himself makes him larger than life. But he's the smallest character there, and he's the bravest. But that's what I think about when you have like a small dog. There's the opportunity of him not just being this brutish, humongous like protector, but his protection and his power comes from his loyalty to the baby, you know? And I think that's more powerful and than just he's strong and brute and all that stuff, because he's not in real life, you know? So I think that's an opportunity. But again, this is your project. This is just artistic taste, and you know, whatever you feel that. I actually like when people base characters on either characters they know or people they know, or combining two people together, because then it's clear in your mind, like, no, he wouldn't do that, or he would do that, or he will behave this way or another way, you know? So that's my 2 cents. Does that help at all?
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's switch over to Team East,
Okay.
and then any other leftover questions, we'll just do that a little later.
Okay.
Well, thank
Good.
you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, very nice meeting y'all. Thank
You
Nice
too.
meeting you too. Bye.
So who wants to tell me a little bit about what's going on and what you guys are thinking and all that stuff?
So we got to a common point on a few things, but we still have different ideas for the perfect solution for our characters. So we uploaded a few versions, but the main thing that we are going for on the design level is that she is more rounded and she's like the moon, and he's more like a star. Because, oh, by the way, I have to tell you about the story so it makes sense.
Yes,
It's a
please.
story about a witch who's doing like a really dangerous potion on her cauldron so she can bring her dead husband back to life.
We sort of did the 3 adjective thing that you were talking about without sort of even knowing it, maybe, or maybe we did when we implemented it. But so the 3: lonely, and then scary, and then cute.
Warm or cute.
Or yeah, warm.
Actually, the last one was a bunch of words.
Yeah, it was
warm,
like
feel
happy.
good, happy time.
Yeah, just a bunch of synonyms. But so like in the beginning, you're like, oh, this witch is all by herself making something. It's like a crazy old witch. You know what I mean? Like you don't really know what she's doing. And then like the more it goes on, the more she's like getting frustrated, and it's like then this big explosion of like this scary skull melting, and then you see like the silhouette of her husband, and if you like sort of pick up the clues from like the first pan and some of the prop design and stuff, like the other thing is like the witch is sort of symbolized by the crescent moon shape, and the dead husband is symbolized by this star. So
Okay.
Like there, for example, you have all their props, and you have like, for example, the mug. His is big and has the star, and hers is smaller, like thinner, and has the moon.
it's like it starts, it pans over, and then we got the in the cauldron shot. She's doing sort of like standard weird witch things. Cool transition, we thought. And then
The idea is that as you go, it gets like darker and darker. At the beginning, you just feel like she's lonely, alone there, and then she starts to get crazier with those items, and the potion's not working, so she gets crazier and crazier, and she starts to throw like different things. Like, for example, you just passed through the head, so that's his head. That's actually the last moment. She's like really, really mad, and she has no hope with this potion anymore, so she just threw the head. And well, it explodes, and we see it, and probably worked, right? Like, there's her husband. Not, he's a zombie, and he's gonna get you, but she doesn't care. She loves him, so she squeezes him, and his eyes pops out. She sees the eye, grabs it, kisses it, puts back on, and they are a happy couple, happily after, probably, maybe.
yeah, the end, question mark.
Okay. So questions and concerns. What are your questions, concerns, anything? Go ahead. Do you have any questions or concerns?
I believe it would be related. Some will be related to the design, because this contrast we were talking about, like she's scary, but then she ends up being cute. We don't know how should we level it on her design? Like, how cute should she be? How scary should she be? And if you see the design examples, you see some are really, really rounded, and others have a bit more of a crazy face and a crazy hair.
They all have like a very similar idea to them. I think they're conveying what you're trying to say, especially this first one.
This one.
Yeah. I think if for anything else, I think you should think about the silhouettes, which I think you have. But more than anything, if you just cut it, because you're going to have a lot of darks and lights in this, especially with the cauldron is working or not, whatever, and especially because it's a silhouette when he comes out of the cauldron. I think just working just black silhouettes right next to each other and see how they work with each other, see if they complement each other, because you're using so much of that metaphor of the moon and the star and all that stuff, and I think there's something to be said about them being like complementary and a piece of each other. So that's for the design. I will say that think about your character design inhabiting the world as well. So, because you can't just design characters and then they don't fit the world. Are you gonna have heavy line on your characters in the animation?
I don't know if we're sort of trying to figure out and finalize the design and make that choice, but it seems like most of us tend to draw more as like the one that you have on the screen right now with that heavy line. Yeah.
Okay. Then if that's your natural way of doing it, maybe just keep that. Keeping in mind that if you have a heavy line like that perhaps having too much black line or just having line in your background might be competing too much with your character. Let's look at, can we look at the backgrounds?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
3 moods for the background, like ideas for those moments we talked about, the sad and lonely, scary, and finally this is the sad and lonely, I believe, scary and warm.
Color camping, perfect. So I do see through the background the whole theme being carried out of 2 things: the 2 mugs, the 2 cups, the 2 boots, the 2 shoes, the two brooms, all that stuff. Now notice that you always put them flat and right next to each other. The brooms are flat right next to each other. The shoes are flat right next to each other. The cups are flat right next to each other as well. I think it's a great idea. So how do we convey that? Are you guys gonna stay with mostly a flat background like this, like a UPA Warner Brothers Looney Tunes style?
Yeah, that was sort of the idea, and like the probably that coffee table with the mugs and that like half opacity banister is going to be like parallaxed in the foreground.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start playing with shape then.
I think it's funny that you mentioned UPA, because we didn't even talk about UPA, but we were actually thinking about the geometric shapes for the designs, and that's actually a really good reference for that.
Yeah. So what you can do, since your characters are going to be so heavy on line, and they live within the lines, right? Maybe what we can do is make the line on your backgrounds not the thing that keeps everything contained. But let's look at this. First thing that I will say is I would lower the horizon line, bring everything down a little bit. I think foreground elements will like add a lot to what you're doing, but I do think that they should be a lot darker and they should be more like silhouettes more than anything else. You don't need to be too descriptive with them. It could be just shapes in the foreground and stuff like that. So since everything is going to be so flat, you don't necessarily have to be too crazy about perspective, but you do need to bring some sort of dimension to the drawing somehow. Because actually, I think your style would benefit from a more wonky type of instruction. But wonky doesn't mean that it's not in perspective. You know? Since we change a little bit of the perspective here. So I would work, if I were you, mostly with shapes first to try to accomplish what things would look like. And then come in and bring in the line.
Something to think about in these foreground elements as well is like things like piles of books or like a jar with some creepy stuff in it, or
Yeah, exactly. We were thinking
um,
like have them like sort of work distorted like beakers and potion
Yeah.
bottles and stuff.
But then that's the other part about it, that they're in the foreground. So you don't have to go crazy and draw the whole shape. You can just do a split, and it gives you enough information, you know? And it actually brings in the audience a little bit more because it makes them go like, what is that? So, you know, like you kind of inviting them inside or into your thing. So I don't know if we need to have those there, but the thing that I like is that since you have so much light, then you can come in inside of anything, but also like giving line different weights to help you give a little bit of a variation on your drawing. Sorry, it's so pixelated. It's really. And then like also like, see how right now I'm using the shift button and it's kind of a clutch sometimes. And then coming in back and like putting a little bit of like hand drawn on top will add a lot of character to what you're trying to do. You can disagree or you can agree with me, but everybody has his own preferences. So I like the idea that if you put your characters on top of this, also like you don't have to go fully black with the lines. I will kind of either colorize or bring the lines a little bit down so that they're not really taking over everything.
Some of what you're doing has actually reminded me quite a bit of the development art and stuff from 101 Dalmatians.
Yes. Oh, that's a great reference. Yeah, that would be amazing. But see, like your perspective is lower now. You don't necessarily have to be a slave to the perspective, especially because of the type of style that you guys are doing. So I will say that in every part of the room, I will kind of like keep the perspective. Like this is the perspective for here, and then might change the perspective a little bit for there. So like it doesn't, because like as you're getting so far out into the room, like your perspective over here is gonna be so distorted, you know. Like this foreign element is great. I really like this thing, this front thing, especially if you're gonna be parallaxing. Are you guys gonna be doing that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna put, I think, a little spider in or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally. So for example, like so I like to group things together. So it creates like, see, like you have one element here, one element here, one element here. It's like they're repeating. I like grouping things together and giving like space to having positive and negative spaces and grouping them together. So like, for example, like, and the shoes kind of together in one section, creating this open space here. Okay, this is a choice here, the door. I like it. This is cool. I haven't seen that. So making this space open all here, so then you can have this space right next to the door and it's not so repetitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally.
Same with the banner. Maybe if you want to move it this way or something, it's just, there should be like almost like a musical rhythm to what you're doing. So see here, like they're all like about the same size and the same separation. I've like grabbed 3 of them and clump them together, and then maybe 2 of them and put them together, and maybe leaving a little bit of space. I think that will help a lot on the composition. You're doing that already with the storytelling with the 2 items that is all theirs, but like, what does this space say? who came up with this story?
It was actually a collaboration. So I had an idea for this story, but instead of the husband was actually she was casting a cat, but she was like really nasty and was just like a cute cat. But after the cat, the spell works, she would kill the cat and it will become a ghost, and then will be her ghost mascot. But it was a bit morbid for the group, and I don't know who came up with the wizard. I don't remember actually, the wizard husband.
I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if it was one of us or if it was all of us.
Yeah, it just came, right?
Yeah, it was
That's
sort of like,
that's another cool thing about this project. Like sometimes ideas just come with us, like someone saying a thing and the other one, oh yeah, so we could do like this way, and then we go for that, and then on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really collaborative story for sure.
Cool. So, like, you can use the line itself or the drawing itself to say a lot without having to go back in there and draw everything. I really do hope you keep that element and you parallax it for sure. But let's give it a little bit of. Sorry,
We're gonna invite Team West back, and then we're gonna break because you guys have lots to do today after this, and we'll say goodbye to our wonderful guest mentor today, Luciano Herrera. All right, you guys, a warm thank you to Luciano for coming and helping us out. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Luciano's a wealth of knowledge. And any last questions before we say goodbye and send you guys back to work? Nope, not a one? Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks, Luciano. And
Thank you.
we will talk soon, I'm sure.
And back to you all. And one thing I have to say is everybody's work was great. I really like it. I think that the only difference between anybody that is working and you guys is just time and mileage. So keep at it. I have not seen anything here talent-wise that I will not hire you. I will hire every single one of you if I had a spot right now. So like, keep at it. It's hard, but just keep at it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
It's really, it feels like really good. It's really grateful to see how much we did in this amount of time, and to be able to like join this opportunity, because it's the kind of thing you cannot do alone. Like there's no way you can solve all those stuff without having other opinions and going back and forth.
It definitely went better than yesterday. We were a lot more calm. Like I feel like yesterday we were very hyped up. So a lot of us were like on our tiptoes and we were like really stressed about making sure we get things done, but that might have like clouded our judgment. But today I feel like we were definitely more focused and we really explored a lot. So that was nice. And yeah, especially after the feedback session we just had, like there's a lot that we didn't realize, which we can now implement.
Pretty good. I feel like today was really successful in finding out what we're doing with design, and the feedback was great. So
I'm learning people's quirks a little bit more. Like I'm noticing, like for example, Daniel's more prone to like the action, so he wants to do more action based. Annie, she's like happy-go-lucky and is willing to do anything you throw her way, which is nice. And then Serena, sometimes I'll throw like a couple ideas, whether it's like design or story-wise, and it's kind of like takes me a moment to kind of convince her, or sometimes not convince her.
It was interesting. I'd say I'm not the strongest at design, so I was kind of like out of my element for a lot of today, but I was here for most of the day instead of going to school, so it was nice being with the group the whole day.
It was really like eye-opening, realizing how much work goes into laying out rooms and like how to get so much story into such a quick shot without making it like hard for people to understand.
He told us like during the action shots, we need to do much more simpler backgrounds. And we kind of thought of that, but we weren't sure if we were going to do it. And him just saying that helped us like set that, okay, that's probably the best way to go. And I feel like that for sure would have helped us in the long run, because if we'd done the big shots, each the most detailed shots for those action shots, it would have taken much more time.
I can apply this going forward when I do my own layouts, or like when I go into other projects going forward, because I'm gonna have to start looking for jobs in about a year.
All right, this is time for our Q&A session.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. So what do you think of that episode, Mike?
That was I liked that episode. I think there was a lot of really great information, and it's pretty mesmerizing to watch Luciano draw.
Yeah, what were your favorite parts?
I don't know. One of the things that, I mean, having been behind the scenes with everything, it's fun to watch them go through these processes and knowing the end from the beginning, seeing what changes they made, what things they incorporated, and what things they decided not to incorporate. I think that's really interesting to me. And knowing them a little bit better now, it's cool to the artists. I mean, knowing them a little bit better now, it's cool to watch them sort of come together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
They're
watching the chat between the two artist teams on our Slack channel.
Oh yeah,
we haven't seen each other's work yet, so they're all super excited about what the other team is doing.
Oh, I know. We purposely did that. We purposely sort of separated that so they would get a little treat too.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to see the final animations. So I've got questions for you.
Okay, great.
What was your process in planning this show?
Well, it relied heavily on the internet. First of all, we were thinking, okay, well, we're going to do this reality show about making cartoons, but we have to do it completely remotely because of COVID-19 and, staying at home orders in some places and things. So we're like, okay, well, we do everything through Zoom. We're going to be limited in the amount of shots and things that we can have. So we have, the gallery view. If we're recording something, we have the one live camera view that switches back and forth. And then we asked our artists to do like over the shoulder type shots and screen caps. And we figured we could have enough footage with that to cut it all together into something that would make sense.
So far, it's worked out pretty well.
Thank you.
Yeah. How did the groups pick their directors and basically all of their jobs? How did they go about picking all of those jobs?
That was completely up to them. Completely up to them and entirely organic to each team.
That's cool.
So I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Did they pick right? Did they do a good job?
Oh, I think they both, picked excellent. And I think they both picked great people. I mean, there wasn't a dud among them.
No,
all of them pulled their weight.
I was quite impressed.
And every single one of them put their heart and soul into what they've made. And, all of them did fantastic work. So I hope, people seeing them is a nice springboard to some career options.
Yeah, I hope so. So what would you say is the best professional software to learn, to get into the animation industry?
The best professional. Well, I mean, I personally am very partial to a lot of the Toon Boom stuff. I'm also partial to Clip Studio Paint. I've been sort of delving in Blender a bit. But it really comes down to what you feel comfortable with. I mean, give these different things a shot. I mean, download the trial of Storyboard Pro. Download the trial of Harmony. You know, just you can spam the trials and see which ones you like.
Didn't Team West use Blender to get their perspectives right?
They did.
They did. Yeah, that's really cool that they use that.
Yeah. Well, I think that you can also bring those 3D elements into Storyboard Pro and, you know, find your shots of that. Well, I don't think I know that you can. I've done it.
What was the inspiration behind creating this whole thing?
I think we touched a little bit on that yesterday, but it was basically we were looking for a cool project to do, and it was, you know, what about a reality show about making animation? I mean, you know, let's. I don't know why. There's like a bunch of different things have come out about how do you make animation, how you do this, how you do that, and there's endless tutorials on YouTube and things. But for some reason, it feels like the process seems to be shrouded in so much mystery. So doing a bit of a reality show, which reality shows I feel like are sort of exciting in and of themselves in a lot of ways, and making something exciting about such a slow moving process was a little bit daunting. But within the course of a week, that sort of slow process speeds up real good. So, I mean, that was sort of the inspiration around it. I wanted to see something about animation.
So, when we selected the teams, how difficult was it to make those selections?
Very, very difficult. We had a lot of different portfolios that came in, and some of them were very good. And some of them that came in, I felt like still needed a little bit more experience, still needed a little bit more seasoning. But that always comes with time, and I hope they reapply. I really do. There were some that came in that were from Europe, and unfortunately, we couldn't do anything with them because it was just for North and South America for us. Europe is a whole different division of Wacom, so that wasn't available to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very difficult selection process. A lot of factors involved.
So when a student graduates from college and tries to get into the industry, what software should they really know?
Well, it depends on what you want to do.
Okay, let's go through it then.
Let's go through. Well, if you're gonna do like me and you want to go into TV storyboarding, then Storyboard Pro is going to be your ride or die. That's what almost everybody uses.
Did you use that at The Simpsons?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we started in version 2 or something like that in The Simpsons, or 4.2. I don't remember. So that's been a while. I use it. I use it in my job right now.
And then for creating the actual animations, that's mostly Toon Boom, or?
Yeah. Well, the show that I'm working on right now is a Harmony show.
Cool.
So, you know, Harmony is great for doing a lot of things. It's very versatile. You can do both cutout rigs and traditional hand drawn.
So you'd say that Toon Boom's kind of the industry standard?
I would say so. Yeah, for a lot of things. A lot of things. There's a lot of television shows that use it. We used it on Princess and the Frog when I was interning in Disney Feature. That's what they used for their ink and paint. So it's a very dense and very versatile.
One of our Cartoon Crunchers mothers wants to ask a question. It's Annie's mom.
Oh, okay.
How important is a college degree?
It depends on who you talk to. To me, as long as you can do the work, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I think having a college degree is nice to have, but for this business, not entirely necessary. Although I will say this, you know, depending on where you go to school, it can create lifelong connections, and it can create an environment that you'll be able to thrive in, you know, creatively. So there are benefits. I won't say there's no benefit to going to college, but as far as like, you know, you have to have a master's degree to do this job, or it's, you know, it's not nuclear physics. It's cartoon making, and as long as you know how to do the process and how to make something fun, like you can't teach how to be funny. You can't.
No.
You just can't. It's something that, I mean, you can sort of learn some tips and tricks and things, but you can't be taught how to have a good sense of humor, I would say. So that's just something that you bring to the table that's uniquely yourself.
That's very true. Like, I've got a terrible sense of humor.
Oh, come on.
How far apart was the initial concept to the final animation? Like, they came up with the concept, and then how quickly did they have the final animation done?
Oh, 1 week.
1 week. And did they change a whole lot from that initial idea to the final?
Well, you'll find out more as the show progresses, I would say.
Oh, will we?
Oh, absolutely, you will.
You guys may have to watch tomorrow's episode, which is the first one.
I can't spoil the whole show for you.
Let's just show them all tonight. We'll put up the next one.
Yeah. Do you have well, no. No, we're not going to do that.
No. I think I've got 2 more questions before we shut this down.
Okay.
This one's a long one, so wait for all the words. Since we're all trying to work remotely but collaborative on team projects, can you explain how each team was able to stay in touch? What was the standard method that they stayed in touch? And does the industry use those methods?
They stayed in touch mostly through Zoom, and they had, I think Team West had a GitHub and some other things. They had our Slack channel.
I really like Slack. That works out really well for us.
Slack does work really well, especially, since you can share files, you can share a lot of different things, and the limits are pretty high. It does have a rolling 5 gigabyte limit for the storage and stuff, but working remotely, I mean, you can do it through Google tools, you can do it through Slack, like I said, you can do it through Zoom. We did it through Zoom. So
what tools are you using?
Right now for work, we're using Google stuff, Google Hangouts, Google Teams.
Cool. Oh, you guys use Teams too?
No, we don't use Teams. Sorry, I mean Meet.
Google Meet.
And Zoom.
Right on. Well, one final question.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
If you could be a cartoon character, who would you be and why?
Oh, goodness. One of my favorites has always been Donald Duck, but if I really was honest, Superman, because Superman's amazing. And being able to fly around the world and shoot lasers out of my eyes would be pretty freaking dope.
That would be.
So, yeah. I mean, it would introduce a lot of other problems, but, you learn how to deal with such things. I would be busier than I normally am, though.
Yeah, saving all those people.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of work.
And I don't necessarily want my wife to be totally in danger all the time, so that wouldn't be ideal. But I mean, gosh, you could pick, like, I don't know, Dr. Manhattan, who can basically do anything and anywhere, but at the cost of your humanity. That's a pretty open-ended, broad question, my friend.
That's why I asked it. All right. Well, any final words? Maybe a little preview of tomorrow's episode.
Tomorrow we're talking animation, so come on down and watch them get into the sort of the base setting up of their starting their animation.
That's cool.
It's
Melissa says you're the Superman of the animation world. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode at 5:00. And that's a wrap.
All right, you guys. See you tomorrow.